Good morning. For today's lesson, you will need to have out a sheet of notebook paper and a pencil to record your thinking. Imagining the future. Take a minute and think about what these words suggest to you. Today, we will read a text about space exploration and the future of human voyages to worlds beyond the Earth. Go ahead and record your thinking about this phrase now. Now let's go ahead and watch this video called Earth Views. In this video, you will see views of the Earth from space. Let's take a minute and reflect. Take a look at this question. Why are people curious about our galaxy and what lies beyond? Please take a minute and write your response to this question before sharing your ideas with others at your table. We will take a few minutes to first write, then share our thinking. Okay, today's selection is called Leaving Main Street. This selection is an example of an argument, a type of nonfiction in which an author states and defends a position on a topic. This is similar to the type of writing that you've done when you've done persuasive essays. As you read this selection, look at the way that the writer advances the argument that people are born to explore the unknown. Keep an eye out for the main point and the main argument, as well as the evidence that the author uses to support it. I want you to pay attention to the structure of the text. You should notice that the author doesn't state his position immediately. Instead, the article begins with information about a particular space mission and then presents different sides of the issue. I want you to realize that the author doesn't begin to state a position until the 7th paragraph. That comes when he says humans explore space because it's in our genes. And the following paragraphs after that provide details supporting that position. And then you're going to notice the concluding paragraph restates the author's position. As you read, look at the way the author advances the argument that people are born to explore the unknown. In July 2015, the world watched in awe as close-up photographs of Pluto streamed back to Earth from 3 billion miles away. The spacecraft, New Horizons, had traveled 9 years to study the dwarf planet at the edge of our solar system. As a result of the mission, scientists discovered that Pluto is not just a giant ball of ice. It has a molten core, tectonic plates, and volcanic activity, just as Earth does. It may even support some form of life. The New Horizons mission has been hailed as a triumph of human ingenuity and a huge leap forward for the future of space exploration. Yet, it almost didn't happen. The mission had to overcome some serious challenges before it could get underway, such as repeated threats to defund it. There have always been naysayers who've questioned the need for space exploration. The argument goes that the United States has more important things to spend money on, such as ending hunger and poverty. Go ahead and take a minute now and record what we've learned so far. Think about the importance of this mission and why it almost didn't happen. Go ahead and record your thinking now. Now take a minute and turn and talk at your tables. In your groups, talk about New Horizons. Also, I'd like you to discuss which side you think you might be on. Do you think the space mission was important and what we learned from it is very important to our society as a whole? Or do you think that we should spend money on other things, such as ending hunger and poverty? Have this discussion at your tables now. Now we're going to get a little bit more information about the successful space program. Others argue that a successful space program adds to our national prestige, helps the economy, creates jobs, and improves national security. It inspires students to pursue innovative projects and careers in science and technology. At a cost of 0.6% of the federal budget, it's well worth the price. The cost of exploration is vastly outweighed by the idea of extending humankind's sphere of influence to outer space. Now, you may have been thinking one thing as we read that first page, but now as you get more information, your thinking continues to change. This is called synthesizing. As we continue to get new ideas, our thinking about this topic may change. Let's continue reading. Paragraph 6. But these are not the real reasons for continuing the space program, says Michael Griffin in Air and Space magazine. Griffin makes the point that people go to space for reasons that are not necessarily logical. In other words, money doesn't have much to do with it. When we contemplate committing large sums of money to a project, we tend to dismiss reasons that are emotional or value driven, Griffin says. He goes on to say that Americans need the prospect of exploring space. Humans explore space because it's in our genes. We're hardwired with certain built in features that compel us in that direction. Here's how it breaks down. First, there is something about the human condition that strives to be the best or the first at something. Our ancestors survived by outperforming others. In addition, humans are by nature curious about exploring new places. Everyone remembers being a kid and wanting to see what's over there. Humans will not tolerate boundaries. Their dream is to explore what's beyond. In this part of the text, Griffin offers another explanation for why space travel is important. Go ahead and on your notebook paper now, record what you think about this part of the argument, about why space exploration is important. Go ahead and turn and talk now at your tables and talk about this idea that Griffin says about why space exploration is important for Americans. Let's continue reading. Likewise, humans have always created monuments to commemorate their great achievements so that the next generation will remember who they are and how they spent their time here. What we want to be remembered for is finding life on other worlds, maybe even for landing on Mars. Finally, NASA's space program inspires competition and innovation. The Hubble Space Telescope and the robotic missions to the planets have been shining examples of what can be achieved when a project is based on goals set by scientists rather than by politicians. If we stop exploring space, soon society will have forgotten what it's like to be human. It's human to wonder about things we can't see, to look for what's over the horizon. And how can we be so narrow minded as to think we're the only ones out there? Okay, I'd like you to take a minute now and go ahead and you're going to summarize this text. Remember that a summary is a brief, complete overview of a text that maintains meaning and logical order of ideas. It should not include personal opinions, meaning your personal opinions. Since this is an argumentative piece, it is going to include the author's opinion because that was the intention of the article. So when you write a summary, be sure that you write in the present tense. Use present tense verbs. Make sure to include the title of the work. So at the top, write on your notebook paper before you start your summary, write Leaving Main Street. That's the title of the work, and you're going to write your summary below that. You want to be concise. A summary should not be equal in length to the original text, meaning you're taking a bigger text and you're making it smaller by just saying the important ideas. If you need to quote the words of the author, be sure you use quotation marks. You can't use the author's exact words without quoting the author. That would be plagiarism. Go ahead and take a few minutes to work on your summary now. You may want to start off your summary with a sentence like, Leaving Main Street is an argument that makes a case for exploring space. Notice in that first sentence, I'm giving the title of the work, Leaving Main Street. I'm giving you the genre or the type of text it is. It's an argument. And I'm giving the author's main point, makes a case for exploring space. Go ahead and write that sentence down as your first sentence, and then you'll include the details that support that right after. I'm going to repeat the sentence for you to write it down. Leaving Main Street, you're going to put that in quotation marks because that's the title of this short work, is an argument that makes a case for exploring space. So that should be everyone's first sentence of their summary. And then you're going to take the next few minutes to go ahead and record your summary for this text.
Exploring space is cool, inarguably, but it's also pretty expensive. So why do we keep throwing so much money into orbit, and why should we in the future? Why does space exploration matter? According to NASA, about one time every 10,000 years, an asteroid the size of a football field smashes into Earth. It causes tidal waves big enough to flood the coast. But there are bigger asteroids out there too, and that is what we need to worry about. You see, a large enough asteroid could unleash a firestorm. We're talking end of the world type stuff, filling the atmosphere with dust, wiping out forests and farms, starving what it doesn't immediately kill. Keeping an eye out for these objects may save humanity from an untimely death. The U.S. space program is responsible for tons of nifty stuff. We already know about freeze-dried food, right? But there are so many more examples. For instance, in the 1960s, NASA developed this plastic coated with a metallic reflecting agent. When used in blankets, this stuff reflects about 80% of a user's body heat back to them. This helps accident victims stay warm. And then there's nitinol, a flexible, resistant alloy that was developed for use in satellites. Today it's used in braces. No, seriously. That's weird, right? Does anybody else think that's just me? All right. There's gold out in them there cosmos, and silver and platinum and other stuff too. Private sector ventures envision mining all the way out on asteroids, but space miners don't have to go that far. The moon is a potential source of helium-3 that's used in MRIs, for instance, and rare earth elements that you'll find in electronics and solar panels. And now here's one that I know a lot of people have been waiting for. Aliens. We have to mention it. About half of Americans believe that life exists somewhere else in the cosmos. But so far, we've searched for extraterrestrials in vain, possibly because the Earth's atmosphere interferes with our reception. That's why researchers are more eager for observatories like the James Webb Space Telescope, which will search for the chemical signs of life in the atmospheres of distant planets. I mean, it's a start, but an even more aggressive effort might finally help us to answer one of the biggest questions in human history. Are we alone? I don't mean dating status. I mean, you get it. Satellites are helping us to monitor pressing problems here on Earth, from forest fires to oil spills. But our population, our rampant greed, and our pollution have severely damaged our planet already. According to a 2012 survey, most scientists estimate that Earth has a carrying capacity of between 8 and 16 billion people. And here's the thing, there are already over 7 billion of us. So this has led some futurists to argue that we should be preparing to colonize another planet, and soon. Our survival might depend on it. But, you know, no pressure.
Now that you've finished your summary, you are going to prepare for a debate. I want you to consider this statement. The money spent on space missions could be put to better use here on Earth. I want you to write down your position on this statement. Do you strongly agree with this? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Or do you strongly disagree? Once you write down your position on this statement, I'd like you to include a few bullet points after that that tell why you feel this way. It could be evidence from the text or other things that you know from your prior experience. At your tables, I'd like you to take a minute to think about what examples from the text or your prior knowledge led you to take this position. I want you to talk at your tables for a few minutes. The benefit of us talking to each other is that we get ideas from each other. In a minute, you're going to write a CER and you're going to have evidence to support your position. So right now is your opportunity to talk at your tables and get some ideas of what pieces of evidence you could use to support your position. Go ahead and have a conversation at your group, in your group now. Now that you've finished having your group discussion, I'd like you to go ahead and take a minute to complete a quick write. So the question is, should humanity's future lie among the stars? You're going to use the CER structure. Again, your evidence can come from the story that we read or your prior knowledge, because depending on the point of view you take, you might have to pull from other sources other than just what we had in this text. Try to imagine the future, and there's no right or wrong position. It's totally up to you. Make sure your claim answers the question. Your evidence is either from the text or your prior knowledge on space exploration. Then your reasoning explains how your evidence supports your claim. Once you've finished with this writing, be sure and turn your work in to your ELA teacher.